What's up, guys? Today we're reading some of the most insane relationship drama from Reddit. I'm talking about public humiliation, betrayal, and people just completely losing their minds. Grab a snack, because these stories are wild. Let's get right into the first one. I am writing this from my car in the far corner of a grocery store parking lot. The engine is idling, my hands are literally shaking on the steering wheel, and I've been staring at the dashboard for the past 2 hours. My phone is vibrating so hard against a cup holder that it feels like it's going to explode. Mark is texting me every 3 minutes. His mother left me 2 crying voicemails, and my own mother called me unreasonable. I feel like I am trapped in some parallel universe. I need to put this out there on Reddit because I am genuinely starting to question my own sanity. Am I losing my mind, or was this situation as profoundly degrading as it felt? To give you some background, my fiancé, Mark, 28M, and I, 27F, have been together for 3 wonderful, or so I thought, years. We got engaged about 2 months ago. Yesterday was supposed to be one of the biggest milestones of our relationship, the official family engagement dinner. We chose a very upscale, notoriously expensive Italian restaurant downtown. My parents actually saved up and flew across the country just to attend this dinner and finally spend some real quality time with Mark's family. I was an absolute nervous wreck leading up to this. Mark's family is very traditional, old school, and incredibly tight-knit. But it's not the warm kind of tight-knit. It's the kind where you always feel like an outsider looking through a window. Every single time I've hung out with his parents or his older brother, Leo, I've felt like I was auditioning for a role I didn't know the script for. They have all these unspoken rules, inside jokes from 20 years ago, and a subtle way of making you feel completely invisible while maintaining a polite smile. When we arrived at the restaurant, the atmosphere was immediately thick with that classic uncomfortable family small talk. We ordered a couple of bottles of wine, and my dad started asking Mark's dad about his logistics business. It seemed to be going okay, but then I noticed that Mark was acting incredibly strange. He wasn't really participating in the conversation with my parents. Instead, he kept leaning over to his brother, Leo, whispering something, and then they would both look at me and smirk. It was that specific juvenile schoolboy snickering that instantly makes your stomach drop. I reached under the white tablecloth, gently squeezed Mark's knee and whispered, "Hey, what's so funny? Did I miss something?" Mark didn't even look at me. He just patted my hand condescendingly, brushed me off, and said, "Don't worry about it, babe. Just a family thing. Drink your wine." I felt a sudden surge of exclusion, but I forced a rigid smile to keep my face from falling. I didn't want my parents to notice the weird tension. Then, the main courses were served. The waiter brought out these beautiful, steaming plates of food, right as he placed my dish in front of me. A gorgeous, $40 seafood pasta. Mark suddenly stood up and tapped his knife against his wine glass. The sharp clinking sound echoed through the high-ceilinged room. I instantly felt a wave of relief. I thought, oh, thank goodness, he's making a beautiful, romantic toast to welcome my parents. My mom adjusted her glasses and smiled warmly, leaning forward. Instead, Mark cleared his throat loudly, making sure that not only our table, but also the 3 neighboring tables of strangers turned to look at him. "Before we begin eating tonight," Mark said, his voice booming with this bizarre, arrogant confidence, "I actually have a small but very important announcement to make. As most of you know, the Miller family has a long history of traditional household values. We believe in structure, and we believe in domestic excellence. Since Sarah here is officially preparing to join our family, Leo and I decided to run a little surprise test drive of her future wife Judy's yesterday afternoon at our apartment. The air completely left my lungs. My dad stopped cutting his steak. My mom's smile slowly withered into total confusion. Mark continued, practically beaming with pride. Yesterday, I asked Sarah to make her signature beef lasagna for Leo and me. And honestly, folks, it tasted like cardboard and old cheese. The meat was bone dry. She completely forgot the salt, and she used cheap, pre-made sauce from a jar. It was pretty embarrassing. So, according to a long-standing Miller family tradition, to ensure our future brides stay humble and actually learn how to cook for their husbands, Sarah has earned herself the incompetent chef penalty before she's allowed to touch any real food tonight. With a theatrical, dramatic gesture, Mark reached deep into the inside pocket of his expensive suit jacket. He pulled out a bright neon pink plastic toddler spoon and a tiny glass jar of Gerber baby food, banana and puree. He slammed the jar down with a loud clink right in the middle of my expensive pasta plate. "You have to finish the entire jar, babe, before you can touch a single noodle," Mark announced, laughing at his own delivery. Leo did the exact same thing to Chloe at their engagement dinner. It's just a hilarious little hazing ritual to keep us humble. Go ahead, show everyone you can handle it. The restaurant table went completely dead silent. The kind of silence where you can hear the ice melting in the glasses. I felt every single drop of blood rush directly to my face. My ears were burning and tears of absolute mortification immediately welled up in my eyes. I looked across the table. My dad's face was turning a dangerous shade of purple, his fists clenched. My mom, out of pure panicked social discomfort, let out a high-pitched, nervous giggle because she didn't know how else to react to the horror. But the worst part was Mark's family. His brother Leo and his dad burst into boisterous, loud laughter, clapping each other on the back like they had just witnessed the funniest comedy routine on earth. I looked at Leo's wife, Chloe. She was sitting perfectly straight, staring directly down her own plate with this deeply exhausted, robotic, dead-eyed smile plastered on her face. She didn't say a single word. She looked like a hostage. I was paralyzed with shame. I could feel the eyes of strangers at the next table drilling into the back of my neck. I leaned in close to Mark and whispered through a choked-up throat, "Mark, please, put that away right now. This isn't funny. My parents flew across the country for this. Stop it." Mark didn't whisper back. He laughed even louder, waving his hand in the air. "Oh, come on, Sarah. Don't be such a miserable party pooper. It's a joke. Everyone is laughing. Just eat the baby food, babe. Don't ruin the whole atmosphere for everyone." His dad then leaned across the table, picked up his wine glass, and chimed in, "Yeah, Sarah, relax. It's just a bit of light-hearted fun. No need to look so serious. Eat up." I looked down at that ridiculous pink plastic spoon sitting on top of my expensive dinner. I looked at my fiancé's incredibly smug, self-satisfied face. In that split second, something inside my chest just snapped. I realized that the man I was supposed to marry found joy in publicly reducing me to a misbehaving toddler in front of the people I love most. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the wine. I slowly pushed my chair back, stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked directly out of the restaurant. I didn't look back once. I ran to my car, locked the doors, and drove away. That was yesterday. Since then, my phone has been a toxic wasteland. Mark sent a massive wall of text saying I completely humiliated him in front of his parents, that my ego is out of control, and that I destroyed a beautiful family celebration over a harmless prank. He said I am being disastrously sensitive, and that if I can't handle basic family humor, he seriously questions how we are ever going to survive a marriage. His mother sent me a long paragraph that read, "Sarah, we truly love you, but you really overreacted here. It's just a silly tradition. You made the whole night incredibly awkward for your parents and us." Even my mom called me today saying that while Mark was silly, I shouldn't have walked out because it made the rest of the dinner agonizingly uncomfortable for them to sit through with his family. I am sitting here covered in a cold sweat, crying, and honestly started to doubt my own reality. Did I really blow up my entire relationship over a joke? Am I the one who made it weird? Bro, what? I am literally sitting here with my jaw on the floor. Ain't no way. This grown-ass 28-year-old man really packed a jar of baby food and a pink toddler spoon into his luxury suit jacket just to bully his fiancée at a 5-star restaurant? This is insane. And then the family has the absolute nerve to tell her she's spoiling the atmosphere? What atmosphere, my guy? You just pulled a psychological power trip on your girl in front of her own parents. I'm not gonna lie. Look at Chloe's robotic smile. That poor woman is living in a total nightmare. Sarah made the absolute best move of her life by walking straight to the parking lot. That isn't a red flag. That is a whole nuclear meltdown. Run, girl, and don't ever look back. This is actually wild. Let's move on to the second story. My boyfriend invited my childhood bully on our private anniversary cabin trip and thinks I'm dramatizing. I am writing this on my phone while sitting on the cold tile floor of the bathroom in a rental cabin in the middle of the woods. I've turned the exhaust fan on high speed, so they can't hear me crying. From the living room downstairs, I can hear the muffled sounds of music playing, the clinking of glasses, and her distinct high-pitched laugh. My chest feels so heavy I can barely breathe. I feel a level of deep, sickening betrayal that I didn't even know existed. I'm currently staring at a digital train schedule on my screen, trying to figure out if I can walk 3 miles through the dark to the nearest rural station. To understand why I'm experiencing a literal panic attack right now, I have to give you some deeply painful context. When I, 26F, was in middle school and high school, my life was turned into a living hell by a girl named Vanessa. It wasn't just typical mean girl gossiping or petty teenage drama. It was a relentless, calculated campaign of psychological abuse. Vanessa created fake social media accounts using my photos to spread rumors that I was working as a prostitute and had contracted multiple STDs. She shoved my locker shut on my fingers, threw my entire backpack into a rainy dumpster, and targeted my physical insecurities so viciously that I developed a severe eating disorder. I had to undergo intense psychological therapy for 2 years, and it got so bad that my parents had to legally pull me out of that school district and move me to a completely different school for my senior year, just so I wouldn't hurt myself. It took me nearly a decade to piece my self-esteem back together. My boyfriend, Den 27M, knows every single detail of this horror story. He was the one who held me while I hyperventilated during night terrors about high school during our first year of dating. He saw the scars, he knew the triggers, and he knew how much work it took for me to finally feel safe. Fast forward to this weekend. It's our 3-year anniversary. To celebrate, we saved up and booked a gorgeous, isolated cabin in the mountains, about 3 hours away from our city. It was supposed to be our sacred, romantic getaway. No work, no social media, just hiking, drinking wine by the fireplace, and cooking nice dinners together. We arrived yesterday afternoon, and everything felt perfect. Around 7 p.m., I was standing in the kitchen, happily prepping some steaks for our anniversary dinner. Suddenly, I heard the sound of gravel crunching outside. A car had pulled into our private driveway. I looked out the kitchen window, expecting a lost tourist. Instead, I saw a girl stepping out of the passenger side. It was Vanessa. Walking right behind her was Den's close university friend, Igor. My legs instantly turned to jelly. I felt the air leave my chest, and my vision literally blurred at the edges. I honestly thought I was having some kind of vivid, stress-induced hallucination. Den immediately ran past me, out onto the front porch, waved enthusiastically at them, and then turned back to me with this massive, incredibly casual grin. "Surprise, babe," Den said, clapping his hands together. I thought this cabin was way too big for just the two of us, so I secretly hit up Igor and told him to bring his new girlfriend along. Isn't this awesome? The more the merrier. I managed to grab Den by his hoodie, drag him into our bedroom, and slam the door shut. My voice was shaking so violently I could barely project it. "Den, are you completely insane? That is Vanessa, the girl who tormented me, the girl who put me in therapy. Why is she at our anniversary trip?" Den looked at me, let out a massive, irritated sigh, and rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. He rubbed his temples like I was the one being an unbearable, dramatic child. "Oh my God, Julia, are you seriously bringing that up right now?" Den said, his voice dripping with condescension. That was literally 10 years ago in high school. Everyone was an idiot back then. It was just stupid school drama. Igor started dating her a couple months ago, and she's actually a really cool, sweet girl now. She completely knows you're here, by the way. She felt super bad about the past, and specifically wanted this trip to be a relaxed chance to make things up to you. Just be a mature adult for once. I stared at him, tears streaming down my face. A relaxed chance? On our 3-year anniversary trip, you brought my abuser into my safe space without even asking me, and you're telling me to be mature? He just chuckled, patted my shoulder like I was a hysterical pet, and walked toward the door. "You are completely dramatizing this, as usual. Just forget the past and let it go. Be the bigger person, Julia. Don't make this incredibly awkward for Igor and ruin the vibe." The past 24 hours have been an absolute psychological nightmare. Vanessa didn't apologize to me, not even a whisper. Instead, she's acting completely normal, but with this toxic, underlying passive-aggressive edge that only I can detect. This morning at breakfast, I was putting some eggs on my plate, and she looked at me across the table, smirked, and said, "Oh, Julia, I see you're still coping with stress through heavy carbs? That's honestly so quirky and cute." Dan didn't even blink. He just let out a loud laugh, made a joke about my appetite, and passed to the orange juice. The social tension in this cabin is thick enough to cut with a knife. To make matters worse, I found out during a conversation that Den, Igor, and Vanessa have actually hung out at bars together multiple times over the last 2 months completely behind my back, and they have all these new inside jokes. Every single time I look at my boyfriend, I feel a physical wave of nausea from betrayal. He literally welcomed my high school tormentor into our intimate celebration and is now treating me like a toxic villain because I'm miserable. An hour ago, they wanted to go down to the local river for a hike. I told them I had a splitting headache and couldn't go. Den pulled me aside in the hallway before they left and snapped at me, his face tight with anger. "You are totally ruining this entire trip for everyone with your pathetic attitude. Your energy right now is so toxic. It was 10 years ago, Julia. Grow up, let go of your petty grudges, and stop acting like a victim." They've been gone for an hour, and I'm just hiding on the bathroom floor. Am I truly overreacting here? Is a childhood bully really something I should just forget for the sake of keeping the peace on my own anniversary? This is insane. There's ain't no absolute way this dude is for real. He actually brought his girlfriend's literal childhood abuser to their private anniversary trip? I am completely losing my mind listening to this. She went to therapy for years, bro. That's not school drama. That's a lifetime of trauma. And look at Vanessa, immediately dropping slick comments about her eating habits at breakfast. And Dan is just sitting there laughing and passing the juice. Bro, what? What an absolute textbook egoist. He wanted a double-date vacation with his bro, and he completely traded his girlfriend's mental health for it. I'm not gonna lie. If my partner did this to me, I'd be out the bathroom window and on the first train back to civilization. Julia, leave him in the woods with his new friends. He doesn't respect you at all. That's actually wild. Let's move on to the third story. My best friend keeps disrespecting my job in public, and yesterday I finally snapped. I am posting this here because our mutual friend group chat has been completely radio silent since last night, and 2 of our close friends have already texted me privately saying I went completely nuclear, destroyed a guy's dignity in front of his new partner, and acted like a pretentious prick. I really need an outside perspective. Did I actually cross a line, or was my reaction justified after months of silent taking? To give you some context, I, 25M, work from home as a freelance 3D environment artist. I create digital assets, realistic textures, and 3D layouts for independent video game studios and sometimes architectural firms. I work entirely remote, I set my own daily schedule, and honestly, I make really great money, significantly more than most of my college friends. I love what I do, and I pride myself on my work ethic. My best friend since high school, Dave, 25M, works a standard corporate 9 to 5 job as a junior coordinator at a logistics company. He absolutely despises it. He is constantly stressed out. His boss is an arrogant micromanager. He gets paid peanuts. And every single time we hang out, Dave spends hours miserably complaining about his career. About 6 months ago, Dave started making these weird, passive-aggressive comments about my job. At first, it seemed like minor, harmless teasing. We'd be hanging out on Discord playing games on a weekday evening, and Dave would sigh loudly into his microphone and say, "Well, must be nice to just play video games all day while some of us have actual, real adult responsibilities in the corporate world." I would just laugh it off nervously and say, "Hey man, I was baking lighting textures for 9 hours straight today. It's still a real job." But over the last few months, his comments have evolved from mild teasing into pure, unadulterated condescension, especially when we're out in public around other people. 2 weeks ago, our friend group was sitting at a crowded bar, and a couple of new girls who joined us asked what I did for a living. Before I could even open my mouth to explain my career, Dave loudly interjected with this smug, mocking grin. "Oh, Alex here is a professional coloring book artist." Dave announced to the whole table, chuckling. He literally stays in his silk pajamas all day, clicks a computer mouse 3 times, and calls a career. Must be amazing to contribute absolutely nothing of value to society and just doodle for a living. The whole table went into this incredibly awkward, forced laughter. I felt a massive knot form in my stomach, and my face flushed with embarrassment. But because I hated causing drama in public, I swallowed my pride, forced a smile, and tried to joke back. "Hey, those pajamas are comfortable, and those pixels pay my rent, man." Dave just rolled his eyes, took a sip of his beer, and muttered, "Yeah, whatever that means." The absolute breaking point happened last night. I offered to host a small dinner party at my apartment. For context, I rent a beautiful, spacious 2-bedroom apartment downtown, and I pay the entire rent myself. Dave brought his brand new girlfriend, Maya, whom he's been trying desperately to impress. About halfway through the night, I walked into the kitchen to mix a fresh round of drinks for everyone. The kitchen door was slightly ajar, and I could hear Dave's booming voice from the living room, talking loudly to Maya and our mutual friends. "Yeah, Alex's apartment is nice," Dave said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "But honestly, it's easy to afford a place like this when you don't have a real boss, a real schedule, or any actual real-world stress." He basically lives on glorified unemployment benefits that indie game companies accidentally send him for clicking buttons. I'm the only one here who actually manages a logistics team and deals with international supply chains. It's honestly exhausting being the only actual serious adult in this entire friend group. I stood in the kitchen, holding the drink shaker, and I felt a switch flip inside my brain. All the months of quietly taking his toxic comments, all the public embarrassment, it all just rushed to the surface. I walked out of the kitchen, set the glasses down on the table with a loud thud, and looked Dave dead in the eye. The entire room went instantly dead silent. "Dave," I said, my voice completely flat and serious, "can you stop trash-talking my profession behind my back? I'm really sick of your condescending comments. It's incredibly disrespectful." Dave chuckled nervously, turning to Maya to see if she was watching. "Oh, look at that, see? So sensitive. It's just a joke, Alex, man. Don't get your panties in a twist over a little teasing." And that was it. I snapped. I looked straight at him and unleashed everything. "It's not a joke, Dave. You are just a deeply miserable, intensely insecure guy who hates sitting in a gray cubicle for 40 hours a week making absolute garbage money. You earn half of what I make. Your boss treats you like trash. And the only possible way you can build up your pathetic ego in front of your new girlfriend is by trying to tear down my career. I work incredibly hard. I am a highly sought-after specialist in my field. And if you say one more condescending word about my life inside this apartment that my coloring book pixels fully paid for, you can take your corporate ego, pack up, and get the hell out of my sight." Dave's face turned an aggressive, bright crimson color. He stood up so fast, he almost knocked over his chair, glare staring at me. He called me a pretentious, arrogant prick, grabbed Maya by the hand, and stormed out my apartment, slamming the door. Now, our friend group is completely fractured. 2 of our mutual friends texted me saying I went way too far, that I completely castrated his dignity in front of his new girl, and that bringing up the fact that he makes less money than me was an incredibly low, unforgivable blow. They said it was just standard guy teasing, and I ruined a 10-year friendship over an awkward moment. Am I really the asshole here for finally standing up for myself? Bro, what? This Dave guy is completely out of his mind. You are literally sitting on a man's furniture, drinking his liquor, inside a luxury apartment that his career fully paid for, and you have the audacity to call his job unemployment to impress your new girl? Ain't no way. And then the moment he gets clapped back with cold, hard facts, he wants to act like the victim? Oh, it's just a joke. Classic toxic behavior. He was using Alex as a literal footstool to make himself look like a successful corporate alpha male for Maya. I'm not gonna lie, Alex served him a flawless 5-star reality check. If you spend 6 months throwing verbal trash at your best friend, don't cry when a whole truckload of bricks gets dumped back on your head. Alex is 100% justified. Bro, That's actually wild. Let's move on to the fourth story. My best friend of 7 years finally confessed her feelings. We crossed the line, and now she's treating me like a stranger. I don't even know how to begin processing the sheer level of emotional whiplash I am experiencing right now. I feel completely hollow. In the span of just 3 weeks, I have lost the absolute most important person in my life, and I am sitting here in the dark trying to figure out if I even have a right to be angry, or if I am just a complete fool who misread everything. To understand the loss, you have to understand who Maya, 26F, was to me, 26M. We've been best friends since our freshman year of college, a solid, unbreakable 7 years. We were completely inseparable. We went through absolutely everything together. Horrible breakups, moving into sketchy apartments, the death of my grandfather, her career changes. Our relationship was so incredibly warm, cozy, and domestic. We had this sacred Sunday tradition where she would come over to my place. We'd cook a massive, elaborate dinner together, watch awful reality TV, and just lay on the couch talking about our fears until 3 a.m. There was never any creepy tension, no weird crossing of lines, just pure, unadulterated, life-saving trust. She was quite literally my person. A little over a month ago, Maya came over to my apartment on a rainy Tuesday evening. Right from the moment she walked in, I could tell something was off. She was unusually quiet, avoided eye contact, and was pouring her wine way faster than she normally does. Around midnight, we were sitting close together on the couch under a heavy blanket. Suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, she just started crying. I panicked, wrapped my arms around her, and asked her what was wrong, thinking she was having trouble at work. She looked up at me, her eyes completely bloodshot, and said, "I can't keep doing this anymore, Leo. I can't keep pretending. I have been hopelessly in love with you since the literal day we met in the college dorms. And sitting on this couch watching you date other girls is slowly killing me from the inside out." My entire brain completely short-circuited. I sat there frozen, my heart hammering against my ribs. But as I looked at her face, it was like a massive kaleidoscope shifted inside my mind. I suddenly remembered all those times I felt a weird, unspoken sting of jealousy whenever she brought a new guy around, or how my life only truly felt safe and complete when she was in the room. I realized that my love for her had never been just platonic. I had just been too terrified to admit it. I looked at her and told her that I cared about her too, more than anyone else. That night, everything shifted. We crossed the line. It wasn't a sloppy, drunken mistake or a moment of temporary lust. It was the most incredibly tender, deeply emotional, and beautiful experience of my life. It felt like the satisfying climax of a movie. When we woke up the next morning, we held hands in the kitchen, made breakfast together, laughed, and she gave me a long, lingering kiss before leaving for work. I was on cloud 9. I genuinely thought, wow, my life just changed for the better. The search is over. And then the immediate, icy radio silence began. I texted her that evening to see how her day was going. She replied 4 hours later with a devastatingly dry, "Good, busy." The next day, I tried calling her after work. She let go straight to voicemail and instantly sent a text back saying, "Can't talk right now," completely buried in project work. This agonizing pattern has been going on for 3 long weeks. Maya has completely, totally pulled away from my life. The warm, vibrant girl who used to spam my phone with 50 hilarious memes a day now sends short, formal, one-word texts if she even replies at all. When I finally sent her a serious message saying, "Maya, please, let's just meet up for coffee and talk about that night," she simply replied, "I think we just need some serious space right now, Leo. It's very complicated." The final blow happened last night. We both ended up at a mutual friend's birthday party at a local bar. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst out of my chest the moment I saw her. I just wanted to get a normal vibe check, to see my friend, but she spent the entire night actively running away from me. She stood on the complete opposite side of the crowded room, talked to people she barely knew, and explicitly avoided making eye contact with me. Finally, toward the end of the night, she went to the bar alone to get a glass of water. I seized the moment and walked up next to her. The tension between us was so thick it felt suffocating. "Maya, please," I said, my voice cracking. "Just look at me and talk to me." What is happening? Did I do something wrong? You are acting like I'm a total stranger. She refused to look me in the eye. She just stared intently down at her plastic cup and whispered, "You didn't do a single thing wrong, Leo. It's just the romantic fantasy of you in my head for 7 years was way easier to handle than the actual reality. Now that it finally happened, it just feels completely weird and wrong. I don't think we can ever be friends again, and I don't think we work as anything else either." Then she turned around and walked out of the bar. I went home, sat on my kitchen floor, and cried for the first time in years. I feel so incredibly discarded, confused, and used. She kept this massive secret for 7 years, dumped it on my lap like a nuclear bomb, completely flipped my entire emotional world upside down, got me to fall hopelessly for her, and then the exact second of fantasy became real life with actual stakes, she abandoned the entire 7-year friendship. Our mutual friends are totally split down the middle. Some say she's just terrified and completely overwhelmed by her own intense emotions. So I need to be infinitely patient. Others say she was incredibly manipulative for dropping that massive bomb on me only to completely ghost me when reality set in. I just feel this profound, heavy grief. I lost my lover and my absolute best friend in the span of 3 weeks, and I don't even know who is right or wrong anymore. Ain't no way. This one actually hurts my soul to listen to. No jokes. This is a massive, high-level emotional setup. A girl builds a perfect, tragic romance in her head for 7 long years, comes over, completely blows up the guy's mental world, and then goes, "Oh, reality is different. This is weird, bye." Bro, what? You completely ruined the guy's normal life. You made him fall deeply for you, and now you hide from him at birthday parties? I'm not gonna lie, that is incredibly immature and selfish. She didn't love Leo the human being. She just loved her own poetic crush storyline. She checked her emotional box and left him sitting alone in the absolute ruins of a 7-year friendship. I feel terrible for this dude. Man, this is actually wild.